Chen was reborn into a zombie world full of demons and monsters. My ancestors have been Mr. Yin and Yang for 3 generations, and most of the inheritance has been cut off by his generation. So, he carried a list of deities with him, which could summon all the gods and Buddhas in the sky. Faced with the demons and monsters that come knocking at the door, often guarding the altar, subduing demons in the afterlife, carrying 9 oxen and 2 tigers, accustomed to moving mountains and seas. Xian. Yellow Turban Strength. Last General. Order obtained. The heavens are dead, and the yellow sky should stand tall. At the age of Jia Zi, the world is in good fortune. Xian. Great Sage and Virtuous Teacher, Zhang Jiao. Poor Dao. Take orders. The golden monkey rose up with 1,000 Jun Stick, and the Jade Universe cleared thousands of miles. Today, he cheered Sun Dasheng, only to see the demon mist make a comeback. Xian. Tian Da Sheng, Sun Wukong. My grandson is here from then on. Chen took charge of the list of deities and ordered all the gods to climb to the summit step by step, overlooking all living beings. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Transcendence of Undead Souls. I have a list of deities. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Renjia Town. At night, the streets are empty without pedestrians. Only the street vendor specializing in selling various anti-evil products such as peach charms, gossip mirrors, and stone dardang, known as Lingxiao Pavilion, is lit up. The young boss was holding a roll of books and lying leisurely on the lounge chair, reading them. The kettle beside him was emitting steam on the stove, and the fresh aroma of tea was rising in the teapot. Hang curtains on both sides of the store to tightly cover the goods on the containers. Chen raised his eyebrows and looked out the door, only to see an old man wearing coarse linen clothes wandering outside the door. Grandpa, what's up? A hint of strangeness flashed in his eyes as he put down his book and stood up, smiling in greeting. Shop owner, I came to Renjia Town to seek refuge with relatives, but now it's getting late and I can't find a place. Can I rest here with you? The old man has white hair, a hunched body, and a face covered in wind and frost, covered in dust. It's not easy for you, an elderly person, to go out. Come in and have a drink of water. With a faint smile, Chen invited the old man into the room and washed a cup to pour him a cup of hot tea. Thank you, shopkeeper. You are a good person. The old man sat down by the fireplace, picked up his water glass and took a sip, feeling very emotional. There aren't many good people like you these days, he said. You flattered me. Chen sat down again, picked up a book, and naturally asked the old man about his background. Where did you come from? Why did you go out alone? There are wars going on everywhere now, and the war is chaotic. It's not safe outside. I came from Jinling. There was a famine at home, and my whole family starved to death. I was the only old man left and couldn't live any longer. So I thought about coming to Renjia Town to seek refuge with my relatives, but ended up surviving. The old man slowly recounted his experiences. It's not easy to live now. Chen nodded empathetically, then stopped speaking and focused on reading the book. For a moment, all that remained in the store were the sound of the kettle exhaling, the rustling of books, and the old man inhaling. Half a pillar of incense passed by, and the old man put down his tea cup and stood up to bow deeply to Chen. Shop owner, I have been bothering you so much tonight, and I should also leave now. Chen closed the book, revealing the 6 yellowed characters, Maoshan Anti-Evil Secret Manual. He stared at the old man and said solemnly, Grandpa, the young person stays in the mortal world, while the yin person goes to the underworld. Since you have rested enough, let's go to the underworld and reincarnate as soon as possible. Don't linger in the mortal world anymore. The old man was shocked and looked at Lu Chen for a while before finally sighing, "I didn't expect to meet any experts in this small shop." This statement indirectly acknowledges one's identity as a dead person. "Grandpa, you are already a dead person. You should go to the underworld for reincarnation as soon as possible. Don't delay in the mortal world for too long, so as not to miss the reincarnation time and become a lonely soul and wild ghost." The old man gave a bitter smile and said, "Shop owner, to be honest, I have been looking forward to reincarnation for a long time, but I can't find the way to the underworld, and so far there are no evil spirits coming to seduce my soul. Since that's the case, I'll give you a hand." Lu Chen seemed to have anticipated the situation of the old man and got up to take out a lantern glued with yellow watch paper from the counter. He picked up a pen, lit the blood-red cinnabar ink, and swung the pen to write a dragon-flying phoenix dancing Ming character on the lantern. Then, use a fire folder to light the pale candle inside the lantern. The candle is green and shaped like a ghost fire. This candle is made by grinding dried bones from a tomb into powder. After being lit, it will form a ghostly fire, which has the effects of summoning, and calming souls. The old man was illuminated by the ghostly flames, and his mind suddenly felt at ease. He couldn't help but let go of his guard. "Grandpa, come with me, I'll show you the way." Lu Chen closed the store door and led the elderly man with a complex expression around the cinema wall. Along the way, they arrived at the courtyard, where they saw a plethora of paper products. He used a compass to calculate and confirm the yin position. Build a Naiha bridge on the yin position using a golden and silver bridge. Burn paper money in a brazier under the bridge. Smoke is curling up. After the arrangement was completed, Lu Chen handed the lantern to the old man and slowly said, "Grandpa, this is a soul-inducing lamp. If you take it with you, you won't get lost in the underworld. Go reincarnate quickly." The shop owner is so kind that the old man will never forget it. The old man bowed deeply to Lu Chen, then lifted the soul-inducing lamp and walked step by step onto the paper-tied gold and silver bridge. This golden and silver bridge is made of paper, and if a living person steps on it, it will collapse directly, while if a dead soul steps on it, it will feel like walking on a flat ground. Soon, the old man climbed to the top of the bridge deck. At this moment, there seemed to be a looming majestic gate across the bridge, guarded by heavy troops and inscribed with the words, "Ghost Gate." The old man saw this and was full of joy on his face. He bowed deeply to Lu Chen with gratitude, and then disappeared directly from the bridge into the gates of hell. Build the road with the golden and silver bridge. The dim light leads the way. Paper money buys the way. Stepping over the Naiha bridge, from now on, Yin and Yang are strangers. Ding. Overcoming the undead soul, congratulations to the leader for obtaining 100 points of merit. As the old man disappeared, a mechanical reminder sounded in Lu Chen's mind. Finally opened. Lu Chen let out a mouthful of turbid air, with a slight smile on his lips. After many years of traveling, he earned merit for the first time. He is a traveler from the modern 21st century, reborn in this world. The date of birth is in the year of Yang, month of Yang, day of Yang, and hour of Yang. His father in this lifetime is a yin-yang gentleman who has been dealing with lonely souls and wild ghosts all year round. So he has been accustomed to ghosts since childhood. The mental and Taoist techniques he is currently practicing are the lineage passed down by his ancestors. It is said that his ancestors were disciples of the authentic Maoshan talisman sect. In the words of his deceased father, 3 generations ago, they were also members of the Maoshan sect. However, it has now fallen to the level of being an outsider like Yimao Mountain. Most of the inheritance has been cut off, and the cultivation of martial arts is only limited to Lingxiao Ju. The Taoist method only includes a book on soul summoning techniques, a complete collection of talismans, and some basic knowledge books on feng shui and warding off evil. It can be said to be very tragic. Lu Chen has been practicing the Lingxiao Ju, a family tradition since childhood, and has successfully broken through to the top level of Qi cultivation, officially entering the world of cultivation. The traditional Qingfu technique, soul summoning technique, and talisman technique have all reached an entry-level. In his father's words, he has a great talent for cultivation. At least stronger than his father who achieved nothing. Fengshen bang. Open. Thinking of this, he called out softly. Shua. As his words fell, an imperial edict resembling an ancient edict floated out in front of him. The scroll of the imperial list slowly opens. What caught the eye were the three big characters of Fengshen bang, with dragons flying and phoenixes dancing. Below is an introduction to the golden ancient seal script characters. Please have the gods come and the gods respond, please have the demons come and listen. Immediately after, Lu Chen's portrait leapt onto the paper. Ranking leader. Lu Chen identity. Lingxiao Pavilion master occupation. Yimao Mountain, Taoist, cultivation. Practice Qi, first level, mind technique. Lingxiao Ju, level 1, Taoism. Qingfu art, level 1, soul summoning art, level 1, and painted talisman art, level 1, gods. Soul summoning messenger, plus, yellow turban powerful warrior, plus, remaining merit quantity. 100. This is something he traveled with. The Fengshen list. Claiming to be able to bestow titles and command the immortals of the world. In the past, there was a blank space above except for himself. However, now on the list, there are dark images of soul summoners and yellow turban warriors. And the plus sign after their names kept flashing, as if reminding him to click on it. Soul summoner. Yellow turban strength. Lu Chen looked at the two dark deities on the list and the flashing plus sign, lost in thought. He has figured out the role of merit. Simply put, it means add more points. So which one should I add? New book upload, please find a fresh flower and a review. Thank you everyone. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. Soul Summoning Messenger, a pair of yin and yang eyes bestowed by heaven. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. These two types of gods can be said to be famous in the mortal world. One is a special envoy from the underworld who seduces people's souls, and the other is a guardian immortal who guards the way against demons. The soul summoner is a yin soldier who works as a messenger in the underworld, specializing in traveling between the yin and yang realms, responsible for soul summoning, guiding, and maintaining the balance between the two realms. The yellow turban warrior is a type of Taoist guardian immortal, with copper skin, iron bones, and boundless strength. The above two types of gods have their own characteristics. A type that specializes in ghosts is very suitable for Mr. Yin and Yang, who often deals with undead spirits. One type is skilled in combat and is very suitable for being a bodyguard and taking on combat responsibilities, commonly known as the Daotan Protector. In today's chaotic era, summoning the yellow turban warrior is the best way to save lives. However, as Mr. Yin and Yang, Lu Chen places greater emphasis on soul summoners. A clear spear is easy to dodge, but a hidden arrow is difficult to defend against. He has been dealing with lonely and wild ghosts all year round, and is easily retaliated and plotted by fierce ghosts. Having a soul summoner by his side can greatly enhance his safety. After just a moment of contemplation, he chose the deity he wanted to summon. Soul summoner. At this point, he didn't hesitate to place the plus sign in the soul summoning envoy column. Shua. In an instant, 100 points of merit disappear from the column of merit. Soul summoning technique. A soul summoning technique hidden in Lu Chen's arms suddenly flew out and integrated into the list of gods, leaving him very shocked and lost in thought. The next moment, the entire list of gods became shining brightly, emitting a dazzling golden light. Behind the portrait of Lu Chen, there is an additional pattern emitting golden light. Iron painting and silver hook, drawing a lifelike divine pattern. With a blue face and fang, a terrifying and ferocious appearance, and an unpredictable appearance, wearing black clothes and soap boots, holding an iron rope, resembling an ancient yamen runner who hunted down criminals. This is a typical negative image. Immediately after, beneath the pattern, a row of golden ancient seal script characters seem to be forcefully carved onto it, sketched out one stroke at a time. Soul Summoner. Ding, congratulations to the leaderboard for binding the Soul Summoning Messenger. With the system's prompt, a warm current suddenly appeared on Lu Chen's body. Warm currents flow through the body and then converge into the eyes. It was like scraping a bone to heal an injury. Suddenly, a severe pain emanated from his eyes, causing him to scream in pain. He involuntarily covered his eyes with both hands, tears streaming out. He can clearly feel the subtle changes in his eyes, and the warm current is like a precise willow blade performing a precise reconstruction surgery on his eyes. At the same time, the content of the entire soul summoning technique was deeply imprinted in his mind like a rubbings, making him instantly memorize it. The transformation of his eyes by warm current took over half an hour before finally stopping. At this moment, he was already sweating profusely and his face turned pale. This type of surgery without anesthesia is like scraping bone to heal an injury, and the pain that penetrates deep into the bone marrow is far beyond what ordinary people can afford. Fortunately, Lu Chen is a traveler, with a soul and heart that is far more resilient than ordinary people. Otherwise, I would have fainted from the pain long ago. Sitting there for a while, Lu Chen finally recovered and got up to fetch a bucket of water from the well to wash his face, sobering up. Meanwhile, my mind was analyzing what had just happened. Binding a soul summoner not only requires merit, but also requires a soul summoning technique as a medium. After the binding is successful, the function list will directly give him corresponding feedback. For example, his moves have undergone some mysterious transformation and become extraordinary. This is probably the greatest function of the function list. Summoning the gods to fight, while allowing him to receive feedback from the gods. Thinking of this, he opened the function list again to check the situation. Ranking Leader. Lu Chen Identity. Lingxiao Pavilion Master Occupation. Yimao Mountain, Taoist, Talent. Yin Yang Eyes Cultivation. Practice Qi, First Level, Mind Technique. Lingxiao Ju, Level 1, Taoism. Qingfu Art, Level 1, Soul Summoning Art, Level 1, and Painted Talisman Art, Level 1, Gods. Soul Summoning Messenger Remaining Merit Quantity. 0. The panel has undergone significant changes, with a brand new talent attribute appearing inside. According to the introduction, he suddenly gained a pair of yin and yang eyes that could see through yin and yang out of thin air. Recalling the transformation of his eyes by Nuanliu just now. It should be transforming his moves into yin and yang eyes. Yin and yang eyes allow people to directly see ghosts and yin qi and other impure things without the need for anti-evil items such as willow leaves, water, and cow tears. For Mr. Yin and Yang in this industry, it is a guiding light. Equivalent to an infrared night vision device in the underworld, it can make sharp ghosts have nowhere to hide and cannot escape their own magic eyes. It's very convenient. He smiled slightly, satisfied, and then continued to look down. Discovered that only the soul summoning messenger was left in the column of gods. The yellow turban strength has disappeared. It seems that when the summoning conditions are not met, the deity will not appear in this column, but will directly disappear until the conditions are met before appearing again. He opened the panel of the soul summoner and a detailed introduction appeared on it. Gods. Soul summoning messenger identity. Difu Yin soldier weapon. Soul summoning rope talent. Yin Yang eyes ability. Soul summoning, flying to the sky and escaping to the earth, hidden and invisible introduction. A messenger of the underworld who shuttles between the Yin and Yang realms, specifically responsible for capturing lonely souls and wild ghosts, extraditing souls of the dead. Interestingly, according to the panel introduction, it is essentially the shadow difference of a dead soul that can walk in the sunlight. Is this a privilege? Of course, there are all wonders in the world. Not only Yin differences, but also certain undead souls have the special ability to walk in the sunlight. For example, Zhu Chunkai in Happy Ghost. Strange is rare, but it is actually normal in the underworld. Lu Chen stared at the lifelike and shining soul summoning envoy on the list of gods. In the dark, he felt a myriad of connections with it, as if he could easily use a single move to summon and summon souls, extraditing the dead. While Lu Chen was pondering, a rooster crow woke him up. He looked up and found that dawn had already broken, and sparse sunlight scattered on the ground. He stayed up all night, but his spirit were not a bit tired. This is probably the beauty of cultivation. A new day has begun again. He stretched lazily, full of energy, got up to wash his face, and went to the shop. There was still the tea he poured for the elderly person last night on the table. However, the tea aroma in the tea has been completely absorbed. Human food, ghost food qi. The tea on the table seems to have not moved at all, but in fact, the tea aroma and aroma inside have already been eaten, leaving only a faint cup of cold water. Grandpa, you never enjoyed wealth and prosperity before your death. After death, take more paper money and experience the life of a wealthy person. Lu Chen pulled out a brazier from the corner and burned some paper money for the old man from last night, making him feel more comfortable on the road to the underworld. The paper money in Lingxiao Pavilion is printed with the golden signboard Lin Fengjiao, which is a hard currency certified by the local government. At a very early age, he realized that he was crossing into a zombie world. Because the famous Ime Taoist Lin Zhengying has a close relationship with his family. He has known Jioshu since childhood, as well as his two immature disciples, Wen Kai and Qiusheng. And this town is called Rinjia Town, and there is also an old man named Ren Fa. All the information is accurate, it's hard not to associate it with the movie plot. Step on it. At this moment, the panicked footsteps approached step by step from a distance. Then a panicked and hurried knocking on the door sounded. Lu Chen, there's an accident at Lord Ren's house. Go and take a look. New book upload, please find a fresh flower and a review. Thank you everyone. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. The Refutation Bottle, Ghost Substitute, 3rd edition, new book. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wen Kai. Lu Chen, who was burning paper money, heard a knock on the door and immediately opened it. He only saw Wen Kai, who had a mature appearance with neat bangs and mushroom heads, standing anxiously outside the door. Something's wrong. He frowned and asked, Wen Kai, what happened? With Uncle Jiao present, Wen Kai probably wouldn't ask for his help. It's Mr. Ren's family that has had an accident. I heard that someone from the Ren family has run into evil spirits. Apart from Master, you are the most capable person in the entire Ren family town. Mr. Ren asked me to invite you, go and take a look. Wen Kai hurriedly explained the whole story. What's wrong with Mr. Ren's family? Is it because the plot has started? Lu Chen's heart suddenly changed. As a traveler, he was so familiar with the movie, Mr. Zombie, that he couldn't be more familiar with it. He suppressed his fear and asked calmly, where's Uncle Nine? Uncle Simu is coming, and Master went to the county town yesterday to pick him up. He hasn't come back yet. Is Four-Eyed Taoist coming? Lu Chen felt a little at ease in his heart. According to the plot, the relocation of Ren's tomb occurred after the departure of the Four-Eyes Taoist, so it is impossible for a zombie to happen now. He doesn't have to face an old zombie buried deep underground for many years right away. Wait for me a moment, I'll pack up some things. After a moment of contemplation, Lu Chen turned around and took out a suitcase with the characteristics of the Republic of China, stuffing in all kinds of exorcism items. Huang Fu, Zhu Mo, San Qing Ling, Tao Mu Jian. Carefully count and close the suitcase. Close the store door and follow Wen Kai to the Ren family. Ren Mansion is located in the center of the town, with abundant wealth, and is the down-to-earth emperor of Ren family town. Even the appointment of such important positions as the security team leader in the town is up to Mr. Ren, the final say. Mr. Ren's name is Ren Fa, and he is in his 40s this year. His black and white mixed hair is neatly combed, looking full of energy. At this moment, he was frowning tightly, anxiously pacing back and forth with his hands behind his back. Looking up, he saw Lu Chen and Wen Kai, and his face immediately lit up with joy. He quickly warmly welcomed them. Wen Kai, you have finally arrived. Grandpa Ren warmly welcomed the two of them and glanced at Lu Chen, his eyes brightening as he said, Lu Chen, I haven't seen you for many years. I can't believe that you not only look talented, but also have successfully returned from the provincial university. You are really young and promising. In terms of generation, Lu Chen is the nephew of Lord Ren. So it's normal to call them by their first name directly. Mr. Ren. Without leaving a trace, Lu Chen avoided Mr. Ren's outstretched hands and politely nodded, then said straightforwardly, Mr. Ren, don't talk too much, let's talk about the specific situation. The situation is like this. A few days ago, I bought an antique blue and white porcelain from the provincial capital and placed it as an ornamental item in the hall. The day before yesterday, a distant nephew of mine nervously brought the blue and white porcelain back to his room, never eating or drinking, and remained in a daze. Ren Faling landed in the mansion and walked into it with a sigh, saying, at first, I didn't notice it. It wasn't until yesterday when he started biting and hitting people crazily that I realized something was wrong. I quickly asked the servants to tie him up. Lu Chen frowned slightly and said, take us to take a look. Lu Chen, I won't go in. I'll go back and wait for my master. The Yizhuang also needs someone to guard it. Uncle Jiao is not here, so Wen Kai is a bit hesitant and unwilling to participate. Lu Chen nodded, not forcing him. Lu Chen, the person is inside, open the door. Ren Fa and Lu Chen arrived at a room with a tightly closed door and asked the guards to open the door. Whoosh, in an instant, a cold and gloomy atmosphere surged out of the room, causing a cold shiver. Lu Chen's gaze froze and he lifted his eyes to observe the situation inside the room. A man with a disheveled hair was tied to a chair. When he saw someone, he struggled frantically and roared at Lu Chen and others at the door with a grim expression. Ah! The servant at the door was startled. Lu Chen's gaze flickered, and the man in the room roared irritably, with bulging veins on his neck and emitting wisps of black air all over his body. His eyes, which were supposed to be black and white, had become pitch black, like a black hole sucking on human hearts. Ghost doubles. Lu Chen just took a glance and defined this man as being evil. Outsiders cannot see it, but he has a pair of Yin and Yang eyes that clearly see a humanoid black aura attached to the man, clearly possessed by evil spirits. Ren Fa asked, Lu Chen, what is a ghost double? Lu Chen glanced at him and explained, ghost doubles are people who died in vain or sideways. As their young lifespan is not yet over, they are not allowed to enter the underworld for reincarnation and can only wander in the human world, becoming lonely souls and wild ghosts. At this point, if they want to reincarnate, they either need to find a master to transcend, or find a substitute. What will happen to a ghost double? Ren Fa nervously said, will it affect the fortune of my Ren family? Lu Chen glanced at the man's pitiful state and whispered, the fierce ghost who cannot be reincarnated will find someone who matches the 8 characters to become possessed, and then kill the possessed person to replace him. He can take the opportunity to reincarnate in the underworld, and the soul of the person who was replaced will linger in the mortal world, continuing to search for the next replacement. What should I do? Renfa was very anxious, and how could my nephew be haunted by evil spirits? Maybe there's a problem with the blue and white porcelain you bought. Lu Chen glanced at the room and didn't find the blue and white porcelain. He asked, Mr. Ren, where is that blue and white porcelain? Because I was afraid of another incident, I had someone lock up the blue and white porcelain, Renfa said, waving his hand to the servants to take it over and hand it over to Lu Chen. This blue and white porcelain is coated with blue glaze throughout, with a pure glaze color. On the front, there is a 3-story high building with flying eaves, surrounded by various delicate mythical beasts such as dragons, phoenixes, and qilin. At the intersection of the neck and abdomen, there is also a turtle-shaped carrying tablet, which is inscribed with a prayer for wealth, honor, and longevity. The overall image is very exquisite. Lu Chen glanced over and frowned, saying, this is the conversion bottle used for burial. The so-called antique that dares to be bought by Renqing is a burial item, no wonder it will cause trouble. You should know that the conversion bottle is a burial ritual that has been passed down since ancient times. It is the place where the deceased takes refuge. Most conversion bottles contain dirty things, and ordinary people will encounter accidents when they touch them. There has always been a saying that goes, conversion bottles, ghost doubles, do not get close if your destiny is not hard. After Lu Chen explained to Renfa the meaning represented by the conversion bottle, Renfa was so frightened that his spine turned cold. He didn't expect that the antique he bought back was actually a vessel for the dead. Once it is confirmed that blue and white porcelain is a ghost artifact, the matter becomes clear. Mr. Ren bought a ghost artifact from the provincial capital, and his unlucky distant nephew accidentally let the fierce ghost hidden inside become a substitute for the dead ghost. Lu Chen, what should we do next? Renfa worried, this dark weapon won't attract other fierce ghosts to come, will it? You can use glutinous rice water to clean and purify it, and then expose it to sunlight for 7 days, so as not to provoke other evil things. Of course, I suggest that you bury it again, Mr. Ren, to avoid leaving any hidden dangers. The burial objects dug up by the tomb robbers are all very sinister and must be washed with glutinous rice water and exposed to sunlight to dispel the evil energy on them. I'll have someone bury this thing in the past, Renfa breathed a sigh of relief. Lu Chen, what should we do next? Master Ren, please step back and have someone help him untie the rope. After a moment of contemplation, Lu Chen asked Renfa to retreat and immediately instructed his servants to untie the rope. He quietly hid a soul-calming talisman on the sole of his shoes. Roar! The man who broke free from the bundle roared loudly, transforming into a silhouette and rushing towards Lu Chen, startling Renfa and others at the door with a scream. Lu Chen calmly lifted his foot and kicked the man in the chest, and the soul-calming talisman on the sole of his shoe was attached. Crackle! A burst of sparks erupted from the soul-suppressing talisman, and a black figure screamed and flew backwards from the man. There was a shocking scar on his chest. The mournful voice echoed in the room, causing Renfa and his companions to feel uneasy. Lu Chen took the opportunity to drag Ren's distant nephew out and hand him over to the servants. Roar! Li Gui saw that the substitute he had finally obtained was snatched away by someone, and angrily roared repeatedly. The one who blocked me died, and it roared and transformed into a black shadow rushing towards him. New book upload, please find a fresh flower and a review. Thank you everyone. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. Indifference and soul summoning, evil ghosts subduing and executing, 4th watch. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Shua Lu Chen's gaze fixed, he raised his hand and palm, spreading a cinnabar yellow talisman on top, waiting for the evil ghost to fall into the trap. When the evil ghost saw the yellow talisman, its soul shrank in fear, retreating as if avoiding the plague god, flying around in the narrow room, roaring incessantly. At this moment, they finally saw the true face of the evil ghost. With a disheveled hair and a fierce face, covered in bloodstains, and waving his teeth and claws, that dignified expression can scare people to death. "Roar, I'll have all of you buried with me." The eerie words echoed in everyone's ears, frightening Mr. Ren and others, causing their legs and stomachs to tremble. Cold air rushed up from the soles of their feet all the way to their scalp. "Humph, pretend to be a ghost." Lu Chen snorted coldly, pinched his hand and pronounced a spell. "Reincarnation, life hanging from the underworld, messenger of the underworld, soul stirring and soul stirring. Announce. Soul summoning messenger, please have the gods come and the gods respond, please have the demons come and listen." With his command, a portion of the spiritual energy in his body was consumed. Summoning gods is also a form of Taoism. A gloomy mist emerged from the flat ground, with gusts of Yin wind and piercing sobs. The metallic clang of the iron chain hitting suddenly rang out from the miserable mist, echoing incessantly in the narrow room, causing the scalp of Mr. Ren and others to tingle. A figure wearing ancient yamen clothes and holding a pointed hook and iron rope broke through the mist and walked quickly. I saw him with a blue face and fang-like teeth, sharp eyes, and he was 3 times more ferocious than a demon. Lu Chen, and one more. Mr. Ren's face turned pale, and he trembled as he pointed at the enchanting messenger that appeared. What should we do now? His legs trembled, his lips trembled, and he wanted to slap himself twice. He pretended to be a hero and insisted on following in to join the fun. The other servants were also trembling with fear, their legs trembling, and they wished they could run away. Lu Chen glanced at the disheveled crowd and shook his head, saying in a low voice, "Don't panic. This is the messenger of the underworld who was summoned by me to help me eliminate this evil spirit. I'll pay my respects to the immortal master." As he spoke, the soul-summoning messenger approached him and without saying a word, he knelt down on one knee, arched his hand, and bowed respectfully. Mr. Ren and others took a deep breath, but it turned out to be a rumored soul-summoning envoy from a vocational school who killed human souls. No wonder he has a blue face and fangs, and is terrifying. What surprised them even more was that this soul-stirring envoy would be so respectful to Lu Chen. Brushed the soul-summoner's indifferent gaze casually swept over, causing Mr. Ren's heart to tremble and his whole body to stiffen, exuding coldness and fear from the depths of his soul. The others also took a deep breath of air and froze in place. Lu Chen calmly pointed at the evil ghost and said, "Go and catch him. Obey me." The soul summoner arched his hand and took orders, standing up with a cold eye to look at the evil ghost. The evil ghost saw the Yin difference and was immediately frightened like a mouse encountering a cat. It let out a strange cry, and its Yin energy withdrew. Ignoring the sunlight during the day, it fled outside without saying a word. "Villain, where are you escaping?" The soul summoner let out a loud shout, and threw out the soul summoning rope in his hand, extending like a long snake. In an instant, he caught up with the evil ghost, and his gleaming hook claws let out a hissing sound that penetrated the position of the ghost's pipa bone. Then tighten the hook lock and quickly pull the evil ghost back. Ah! The evil ghost let out a mournful scream and was dragged to Lu Chen like a dog by a soul-summoning envoy. Mr. Ren and his companions looked at the demonic soul summoner with fear and feeling a chill in their hearts. They couldn't imagine seeing the rumored Yin difference. And this Yin difference is also obedient to Lu Chen's words. It's simply subverting their values. Can you drive a soul summoner to capture the souls of others at any time? Thinking of this, the servants took a deep breath of air and looked at Lu Chen with a hint of awe in their eyes. "Master Xian, the villain has arrived." The soul-summoning messenger bowed and did not dare to show any negligence. Lu Chen nodded at him and turned to look at the pitiful demon, saying in a cold voice, "There is a way in heaven, but you don't leave. There is no door in hell, so you come to hell. You don't honestly go to the underworld to reincarnate, but instead stay in the mortal world to cause chaos, suck on essence, harm living people, and deserve to die. Today, you have been beaten to pieces, as a warning to others. He picked up 2 soul-restraining talismans and threw them over under the frightened gaze of the evil ghost. Master Xian, don't. Ah. The evil ghost was about to beg for mercy when the soul-stopping talisman had already landed on it. Immediately, its body burst out like a string of firecrackers, causing it to scream in pain. For a moment, the evil ghost transformed into a black cloud and dissipated into the air. Ding! Eliminate the fierce ghost. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 100 points of merit. At the same time as the evil ghost disappeared, a mechanical reminder sounded in Lu Chen's mind. His lips curved slightly, revealing a satisfied smile. In just one day, he once again gained 100 merits. Now it's time to summon the yellow turban warrior. Step back. He waved his hand, and the soul summoner respectfully arched his hand. Then, dragging the jingling hook and lock, he slowly retreated and disappeared into a miserable mist. Lu Chen, has this fierce ghost been eliminated? Mr. Ren widened his eyes and looked around, only to find that the evil ghost had disappeared without a trace. It has already been removed. As he spoke, Lu Chen opened his suitcase and took out a willow branch, handing it to Mr. Ren and saying, "There is residual Yin energy from evil spirits in this room. It cannot be inhabited for a short time. Soak the willow branch in water and sweep it around, then open the doors and windows wide to let sunlight in, which can dispel the residual Yin energy." Mr. Ren took the willow branch and handed it to the servant. "Do as Lu Chen said." "Mr. Ren, your distant nephew has been possessed by evil spirits for a while now, and his body has been corroded by Yin Qi. If not dealt with in a timely manner, he is afraid of falling seriously ill." Lu Chen takes out a bottle of yellow rice wine from his suitcase again. "Fill him with it, and he will probably wake up later. After that, let him drink glutinous rice congee for 2 days to drive away evil spirits, and there will be no problem. Quick, fast, fast." Mr. Ren took the yellow wine and hurriedly asked the servants to drink it for his unconscious distant nephew. Ahem. After taking a sip of yellow wine, a moment later, the person let out a slight moan and slowly woke up, staring blankly at the crowd of Mr. Ren and others. What happened? He covered his painful head, unable to recall what had happened during this period. During the period of being possessed by ghosts, the main soul will fall into a coma state and naturally do not remember what happened. New book upload, please find a fresh flower and a review. Thank you everyone. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Qingfu Flying Money, 5 Ghosts Lucky Money Playing Rogue. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Mr. Ren, the matter has been resolved. If there are any abnormalities afterwards, please let me know. Watching people wake up, Lu Chen closes his suitcase and prepares to finish work. Lu Chen, it's thanks to you this time. The matter was resolved smoothly, and Mr. Ren felt relieved in his heart. He smiled and said, "Don't worry, the remuneration is ready and I guarantee to satisfy you." As he spoke, he loudly ordered, "Butler, go to the warehouse to retrieve $10 of ocean." This is now a considerable amount of money, equivalent to the savings on Uncle Jiao's face. After this battle, Lord Ren was convinced by Lu Chen. Only the legendary heavenly masters and immortals can summon the legendary Yin difference for their own use. And now that he has witnessed with his own eyes that Lu Chen possesses the ability of an immortal master, he naturally shows great respect for him. Lu Chen nodded, not worried at all that Mr. Ren would not keep his word. There aren't many people who dare to owe them money in this industry these days. After 3 cups of tea, Grandpa Ren personally escorted Lu Chen out. "Lu Chen, I have arranged for Uncle Jiao to discuss my father's relocation at my Western restaurant tomorrow. I hope you can come and join me then. He is superstitious about feng shui. After discovering that his family's business is declining, he immediately thought of relocating his father's grave to change feng shui, hoping to turn the business situation of the Ren family around. Today, seeing Lu Chen's abilities, I naturally hope to have an additional expert to ensure that his family's feng shui is thriving and his business is thriving. I will definitely arrive on time. After asking clearly about the time and location, Lu Chen nodded and agreed. The money of a dog tycoon is not earned for nothing. Coming out of the Ren family, it was already approaching noon. Lu Chen stuffed the money bag handed to him by Grandpa Ren into his arms and immediately touched his belly. From last night until now, he had not eaten a grain of rice and was now so hungry that his chest was pressing against his back. Find a stall selling wonton at random, and sit down to order immediately. Soon, a bowl of hot wonton was served by the boss. The creamy bone soup gave off a charming fragrance, and the green onions dotted with it made people feel more appetizing. He sat down and ate a lot of wonton. Everyone, come and take a look. This little girl is so shameless. She insists on using my money as her. Everyone, give her a review. While he was enjoying the delicious food, a stream of flowing shouts suddenly echoed on the street, attracting all passers-by. You're talking nonsense, this is clearly the money I dropped. A hurried plea followed, with a clear and gentle voice, like a yellow warbler coming out of a valley. You said it was you who dropped it. Do you have any evidence? The voice of the scoundrel rang out again. Lu Chen followed the sound and saw a man and a woman standing in the center of the crowd. The man had a long leprosy head and was carefree, with a sinister aura in his eyes. He proudly lifted the pink money bag in his hand. And the woman's appearance was pure and beautiful, familiar to the eye. She was wearing a pink little foreign dress, in the prime of her youth, with a face full of anxiety and anger. Li Laozi, who wouldn't know on this street that you're a poor guy with a rice jar cleaner than your face? You would have so much money. That's right, this pink money bag looks like a little girl's. You're not ashamed of the old men bullying a little girl. The eyes of the masses are clear, and the onlookers criticize the scoundrels who pick up money but don't pay it back. You should not mistreat others. Facing the criticism from the crowd, Li Laozi not only remained calm, but also proudly weighed the money bag in his hand and said, Hey, little girl, you said this money belongs to you. Can you ask if it agrees to this money? If you shout it out and it can return to your hands, I believe it's your money. Li Laozi, aren't you playing a rascal? Yes, this money is not a living thing, where can it run or jump? Little girl, go report to the authorities and we'll testify for you. The onlookers couldn't bear to hear Li Laozi's despicable words, and their emotions became excited. This Li Laozi is very familiar with the people in the security team. I'm afraid it won't work even if he reports to the authorities. I think this little girl shouldn't get this money back. Lu Chen listened to the discussion of the guest next to him and had an idea in his heart. He smiled slightly, pinched his hand and said softly, the sky is clear, the mirror is hanging high, and the Qingfu has a spirit. The things are returning to their original owners. The spell fell, and he immediately pointed to the money bag in the rogue's hand. The next second, in front of everyone, the money bag jumped into the hands of the dressed girl like a spiritual one. This scene left everyone stunned. Immortals appear. Lu Chen chuckled lightly, it was just a way he used, similar to the 5 ghosts' lucky money, to make the money bag fly back into the girl's hand. The Taoist technique he used just now is the popular Qingfu technique, also known as the divine money flying return technique, which can make items fly back to their owners like an old horse on its own, returning them to their original owners. According to the Huainanzi, the sons and mothers of Qingfu were placed in jars and buried under the eastern Yin wall. After 3 days, they were opened and exchanged. The mother's blood was used to pay 81 coins, and the son's blood was also used to pay 81 coins. The coins were exchanged for each other, and the sons were used for the mother and the mother was used for the sons. All the coins were repaid on their own. Qingfu technique is a Taoist technique created based on this, which can be used to retrieve old objects and is very effective. Sometimes it is also used by people to track, search for people, and so on. The ingenuity of application lies in one's heart. The successful Qingfu technique is rumored to be able to allow lost objects to autonomously find their owners from a distance of thousands of miles, like a fairy tale technique. Of course, for him, this is just a small trick and not worth mentioning. At the moment, it's just the right time to use it. Which wandering person dares to do bad things for me? Li Laozi woke up from his daze and shouted angrily, mistakenly thinking that some martial arts sorcerer had caused trouble and disrupted his good deeds. Huh, Li Laozi, this is called, shouldn't be you. You can't even grab it. The onlookers reacted and laughed heartily. The girl in the dress looked around hoping to find the person who was secretly helping her. Seeing the matter resolved, Lu Chen calmly left behind 3 copper coins and left with a suitcase in hand. Quickly, someone recognized him. I remember, it's Mr. Lu from Lingxiao Pavilion on the street. I heard that all 3 generations of ancestors were Mr. Yin and Yang. When you say that, I actually think of the rumors about the haunted Ren family this morning. I heard it was just about inviting Mr. Lu to handle it. The son of the second aunt of my 7th uncle's 3rd cousin's family is a servant in the Ren family. According to his information, Mr. Lu is a first-class expert who can summon the legendary Yin Cha. So, just now the money bag inexplicably jumped into the little girl's hand, wasn't it? Upon careful consideration, they were extremely frightened. They exchanged information in whispers and soon exchanged awe at Lu Chen. Having achieved success in cultivation, Lu Chen became clear-eyed and listened to the gossip of passers-by. He couldn't help but shake his head and smile. In terms of his ability to collect gossip, these passers-by were not inferior to professional intelligence personnel. The girl in the dress listened to the people around her, blinked her eyes, and turned to look for Lu Chen's figure. However, she could only see Lu Chen's figure disappearing from the street corner from afar. She suddenly felt regretful and said, "He did me such a big favor, and I haven't thanked him yet." She didn't doubt Lu Chen's abilities. She grew up in Rinjia town and her father was also a superstitious person. Under the influence of his ears and eyes, he was no stranger to ghosts and gods. New book upload, please find a fresh flower and a review. Thank you everyone. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. Copper Skin and Iron Bones, Yellow Turban Warriors, 6th Watch. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Chen. When Lu Chen returned to the entrance of Lingxiao Pavilion, he ran into Jioshu, Wenkai, and the 4-eyed Taoist who had not been seen for many years. Uncle Jiao, Master Simu. Upon seeing the visitor, Lu Chen politely greeted them immediately. Dressed in a short hat, with slanted bangs and a straight eyebrow, Uncle Jiao asked seriously, "Did I hear from Wenkai that something was wrong with Mr. Ren's family?" "It's not a big deal, it's just that someone has caused trouble and it has been resolved." Lu Chen briefly talked about the entire process of exorcism, and also mentioned that Lord Ren invited him to discuss the relocation of graves. Just resolve the matter. Uncle Jiao breathed a sigh of relief and didn't care at all about Ren Fa inviting the 2 families to discuss the relocation of graves together. Anyway, he won't charge a penny less for it. Oh, is this Lu Chen? I haven't seen him for many years, he's grown so big already. Let me take a look. The 4-eyed Taoist with glasses on his face looked at Lu Chen with joy, and as he spoke, he rolled up his wide sleeves to pinch Lu Chen's face. However, Lu Chen had already anticipated taking a step back and stepped aside, causing his plan to fall through. With a regretful sigh on his face, he said, "Unfortunately, what a pity. He has a bad habit of pinching people's faces when he sees younger people, saying, 'I love you so much,' while pinching." Wen Kai and Qiu Sheng were deeply affected by it. Seeing that the Four Eyes Taoist scheme had failed, Wen Kai secretly gave Lu Chen a thumbs up. The red and swollen marks on his face clearly indicate that he had just been brutally killed by the Four-Eyed Taoist. Uncle Jiao waved his hand in disdain and stopped the Four-Eyed Taoist from causing trouble. "Alright, that's it. Lu Chen is a college student who returned from studying in the provincial capital, so he won't be fooled by your tricks," he said. "Lu Chen, since the matter has been resolved, we won't disturb you anymore. Uncle Jiao, walk slowly. Four-Eyed Taoist, walk slowly." Lu Chen watched as the three of them left, turned around, returned to Lingxiao Pavilion, entered the room, and sat cross-legged on the bed. Feeling the spiritual energy inside his body carefully, I found that he only summoned a soul-summoning envoy once today, which consumed half of his spiritual power. This consumption was really high, or it could be said that his cultivation level was too low. We must become stronger as soon as possible so that we can wield the function list like an arm. Thinking of this, he opened the function list to check the situation. Ranking Leader. Lu Chen Identity. Lingxiao Pavilion Master Occupation. Yimao Mountain, Taoist, Talent. Yin Yang Eyes Cultivation. Practice Qi, First Level, Mind Technique. Lingxiao Ju, Level 1, Taoism. Qingfu Art, Level 1, Soul Summoning Art, Level 1, and Painted Talisman Art, Level 1, Gods. Soul Summoning Messenger, Yellow Turban Warrior, plus, remaining merit quantity. 100. After eliminating the evil ghost who was looking for a substitute, he once again gained 100 merits. The originally hidden yellow turban strength appeared again in the God column, with the plus sign flashing continuously behind it, reminding him to click on it. His eyes lit up with a gleam, and the reappearance of the yellow turban lux proved that his guess was not wrong. As long as the summoning conditions are met, various deities will appear in the deity column and become objects that can be summoned. In this way, the powerful gods in the myth, such as Black and White Impermanence, Mount Taishan Mansion King, Jinwu Emperor, and the third Prince Neza, may all be summoned for his use. Even the highest Taoist deity, Sanqing, is not impossible. When the time comes, call a Black and White Impermanence, Ten Hall Hell King or Mount Taishan Mansion King to suppress the evil spirits. When encountering demons, summon the Jinwu Emperor, the Black Tiger Xiantan, and the Toda Heavenly King to suppress them. When encountering an old dragon, he called the third Prince Neza to cramp and peel off his skin. Summon a civil and martial god of wealth to turn stones into gold and scatter money everywhere when you are short of money. This is called specialization in the craft industry, that's all. Thinking so, his heart was filled with passion, wishing he could immediately gather the summoning conditions and summon all the great gods. Unfortunately, with his current conditions, he is only qualified to summon low-level heavenly and Yin weapons such as soul summoners and yellow turban strongmen. He shook his head, no longer fantasizing, and looked at the flashing plus sign behind the yellow turban strength, then without hesitation, he nodded down. In this chaotic and demonic era, he must possess strong military force in order to deal with various crises and deter petty criminals. Especially when dealing with powerful zombie monsters, without a body full of force, it is impossible to suppress them. Schwa as he clicked the plus sign, 100 points of merit disappeared from the column of merit in an instant. Fist score. The secret cabinet of the room was opened, and the ancestral martial arts manual of the Lu Chen family suddenly flew out and integrated into the list of gods. He squinted his eyes slightly, lost in thought. The next moment, just like when summoning a soul-summoning envoy, the entire list of deities slowly unfolded, extending into a blank canvas, bursting with dazzling golden light. It seems like a pair of invisible hands are drawing on the list. Soon, a lifelike deity pattern appeared on it. Her face is like red jade, her beard is like soap fluff, she is tall and burly, her muscles are twisted and knotted, she wears a yellow scarf on her head, wears gold armor, is bare-handed and empty-fisted, her divine eyes are like lightning, and she is majestic. Next, beneath the pattern, the golden ancient seal script characters appeared word by word. Yellow Turban Strength. Ding, congratulations to the list leader for binding Yellow Turban Strength. With the prompt of the system, a warm current suddenly appeared on Lu Chen's body, as if undergoing a mechanical transformation, carrying out a major transformation on his body. Muscles and bones are constantly refined, veins are repeatedly destroyed and rebuilt, and flesh and blood are forged inch by inch. Ah! This process was extremely painful, and Lu Chen, caught off guard, groaned in pain. He could clearly hear his flesh, muscles, and bones lamenting. At the same time, the content about family martial arts also lingers in his mind, leaving a lasting impression and lingering. Blood and flesh forging also lasted for half an hour before it could finally stop. Lu Chen was panting heavily, his whole body already wet with sweat, and his clothes could be twisted out of the water. His body was sticky as if coated with a layer of oil, and a pungent and foul odor penetrated his nostrils. He looked down and found that his skin was covered in a layer of black impurities, emitting a nauseating odor. Without time to check his physical condition, he jumped out of bed and went to the yard to fetch water to wash his body. Meanwhile, my mind was analyzing what had just happened. This time binding the Yellow Turban Warrior also requires 100 merits and requires a martial arts manual as a medium. After successful binding, the feedback given to him was flesh and blood forging. Lu Chen stretched lazily and made a crisp sound like popping beans in his muscles and bones. He looked down at his well-proportioned muscles, and with a flick of his finger, there was a sound of gold and stone. Immediately, he took out his dagger and swiped it, leaving only a white mark on his skin, which was often sharpened and sharpened. The divine feedback directly made him possess a copper skin and iron bone like a yellow scarf warrior, making him invincible. And he can clearly feel the terrifying power hidden beneath his muscles. Practice muscles, bones, and skin externally, and take a breath internally. He suspected that he could kill a cow with one punch now. With this thought in mind, he clenched his fists tightly, as if an inexhaustible stream of strength surged onto his fists. Look at the wooden dummy standing in the yard for practicing martial arts. Lu Chen's gaze flickered, he lunged and concentrated his strength, then punched with a loud bang. New book upload, please find a fresh flower and a review. Thank you everyone. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. 20 years of Kung Fu in this fist, drinking from foreign countries. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Bang! With a loud explosion, he blasted a fist-sized pit directly above the wooden stake. With such power, I'm afraid one punch can drive a person's tendons and bones apart. Now, he can confidently say, can you resist the 20-year effort of this punch? Lu Chen nodded satisfactorily and returned to the room to sit on the bed. Open the God Ceiling list to check the situation. Ranking Leader. Lu Chen Identity. Lingxiao Pavilion Master Occupation. Yimao Mountain, Taoist, Talent. Yin Yang Eyes, Copper Skin and Iron Bones Cultivation. Practice Qi, First Level, Mind Technique. Lingxiao Ju, Level 1, Taoism. Qingfu Art, Level 1, Soul Summoning Art, Level 1, and Painted Talisman Art, Level 1, Gods. Soul Summoning Messenger, Yellow Turban Strength Warrior. Remaining merit quantity 0. A copper skin and iron bone attribute appears in the talent. This is summoning the Yellow Turban Warrior to give him feedback. Now his body can ignore ordinary swords and firearms. And the flesh and blood forging of copper skin and iron bones also brought an unexpected joy, which was a significant increase in his strength. This is an inevitable collateral reaction brought about by flesh and blood forging. Lu Chen gladly accepted the unexpected surprise and opened the panel of the yellow turban Lux, looking seriously. Divine Spirit. Yellow Turban Warrior Identity. Guardian Immortal Officer Weapon. Fist Talent. Copper Skin and Iron Bones, Infinite Strength Ability. Boxing Introduction. In Taoism, a type of immortal official who protects and subdues demons with infinite power through the process of binding Soul Summoner and Yellow Turban Warrior. He has figured out the summoning conditions. Merit and Media. Having a medium that matches the deity, and then summoning with merit. Only in this way can the relevant deities be bound. For example, Soul Summoners and Soul Summoning Techniques, Yellow Scarf Warriors and Martial Arts Manuals. Moreover, it is interesting that the deities summoned through the medium of Taoist and martial arts will automatically comprehend the corresponding Taoist and martial arts. Or rather, these gods summoned by him are essentially the media themselves, but they are reshaped into golden bodies by him with merit and descended into the world. As the saying goes, the right spirit does not belong to the body. So the major deities can only rely on various media to descend to the mortal world and eliminate demons. Practice is endless day and night. After obtaining the qualification to summon the two great gods, Lu Chen found that his cultivation level in the first layer of Qi cultivation was not enough. I immediately sank down to practice. One night. In a blink of an eye. He has been immersed in cultivation. In the morning, Lu Chen opened his eyes and a hint of melancholy flashed in them. He practiced day and night, and the result was only a slight increase in spiritual power in the elixir field. No wonder immortals cannot emerge in this era. With this level of cultivation difficulty, even immortals who descend to earth have to suffocate themselves. He shook his head, jumped out of bed, pushed open the door, and practiced his family martial arts in detail in front of the sunrise. And as the saying goes, if you don't practice for a day, your hands and feet will be slow. If you don't practice for 2 days, your kung fu will be halved. After 3 days of not practicing, I became an outsider. To learn kung fu, one must keep their fists in place in order to fully integrate and use them, such as swinging their arms. Lu Chen put on a posture and started to fight in the yard with one move after another, exerting all his strength and moving with him. He could sense a surge of energy flowing through his body, like a dark tide surging out at any moment. One move at a time, with hidden dangers. Whether bright or dark, soft or hard, operate as desired, and do as you please. With each punch and palm, the air exploded and the airflow howled. Looking at the balance of the moon. Lunge and palm thrust. Slash your arm and punch. Wrap your wrist and punch. Lu Chen showcased his traditional boxing techniques one by one, and the courtyard echoed with sharp explosions of boxing air. As the saying goes, it's hard for $1,000 to buy a single sound. And now, Lu Chen is beating the air with a crackling sound. When he reached the peak of his life, his muscles trembled and his muscles and bones roared together. It seemed as if there was a fierce tiger roaring inside his body, as if there were thunderbolts. Tiger and leopard thunder. Muscles and bones sing together. The highest realm in martial arts. This is the effect of a significant increase in strength. Lu Chen practiced the technique over and over again until he was sweating profusely before stopping. Rinse your body with water from the well and replace it with a dry Zhongshan suit. This is one of the most popular clothing styles of this era. Then he opened the store door and sat on the rattan chair at the entrance, holding up the Maoshan Anti-Evil Secret Manual, to watch. Yesterday, Mr. Ren invited him to the Western restaurant around noon to discuss Mr. Ren's burial and relocation. It's still a long time, he's not in a hurry. Moreover, he is also waiting for Uncle Jiao. The street in front of Lingxiao Pavilion is a must-pass route from Yizhuang to the Western restaurant. If Uncle Jiao goes to the Western restaurant, he will definitely pass by here. About a stick of incense has passed. Lu Chen, while he was leisurely reading a book, suddenly a shout of excitement came from him. He looked up and saw Uncle Jiao on the street, holding a cigarette stick and leading a cheerful literary talent. Uncle Jiao, literary talent. Lu Chen stood up to say hello, and when Kai enthusiastically turned around and said happily, Lu Chen, these are my best-looking clothes. I only wear them during the Chinese New Year. Can you help me take a look? Lu Chen looked at Wen Kai and said with a smile, you look so beautiful, you're going on a blind date. It's not a blind date, my master said he wants to take me to drink foreign tea. Wen Kai looked up and straightened his chest, full of enthusiasm, as if he were a single man about to go to the Yihong courtyard to have a meal. By the way, master, what is foreign tea? Lu Chen chuckled lightly. You don't even know what foreign tea is, so why are you so happy? Cough, you will naturally know later. Uncle Jiao let out a dry cough and shifted the topic slightly with a guilty heart, saying, don't talk about this, Lu Chen. Aren't you also invited by Lord Ren? Why don't you just come together? He also doesn't know what foreign tea is, but as a master, he naturally can't show timidity in front of his disciples, otherwise his face will be lost. Moreover, he took Wen Kai to drink foreign tea, and his original plan was to let Wen Kai take over and reap the benefits himself. Cough, there's no need to say this little bit of caution. I have this intention. Please wait for me a moment, I will close the store door. Lu Chen turned around and closed the store door, then set off with them. Uncle Jiao looked at Lu Chen in his fashionable Zhongshan suit and thought to himself that his master and disciple did not understand foreign tea, but Lu Chen, a college student who had returned from studying in the provincial capital, should understand. If something happens later and Lu Chen can take over, it won't harm literary talent. After all, there is a deep love between master and disciple, and he is not a devil either. New book upload, seeking support, thank you everyone. Qingming outing in happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. The world is really small, see Ren Tingting again, one watch. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Lu Chen, have you ever tasted foreign tea in the provincial capital? On the way, Wen Kai, who was uneasy in his heart, quietly asked Lu Chen. Foreign tea. Without leaving a trace, Lu Chen glanced at Uncle Jiao in front of him. After Wen Kai asked, Uncle Jiao unconsciously slowed down and perked up his ears to eavesdrop. In the original plot, the master and apprentice were teased by Ren Tingting because they didn't understand what foreign tea was. He chuckled inwardly, coughed lightly, and then slightly raised his voice to explain, foreign tea is actually coffee, called coffee in English. It has a bitter taste, so milk and icing are usually added according to personal taste. Coffee. Coffee. The Chinese and English names for Wen Kai's 2 sips of coffee were immediately remembered in his heart, and he immediately looked up and straightened his chest, exuding extraordinary confidence. It's just a small foreign tea. It's rare to find my literary talent. And the 9th uncle in front also increased his pace in an instant, walking briskly through the vegetable market ahead. Uncle Jiao, are you coming for a fish so early today? This is the fish that was just caught this morning. Look at how fresh it is. The acquaintances of the market immediately greeted Uncle Jiao and enthusiastically grabbed a fish to promote sales. Upon hearing someone ask this, Wen Kai's face lit up with joy and he stepped forward with his head held high, ready to answer the question on behalf of his master. However, ginger is still old and spicy. Uncle Jiao waved his hand and politely declined, saying, Mr. Ren invited me to have coffee, which is foreign tea or coffee. I won't go back to Yizhuang for lunch, so you don't want any fish. He quietly revealed the news of drinking foreign tea. As he chatted, he took out his cigarette stick and took a puff, comfortably spitting out his cigarette ring. After smoking, he poured out the cigarette ash from his pipe and then said to the fishmonger, if you're busy, I won't disturb you anymore. Wen Kai looked at Uncle Jiao with a bewildered expression on his face. Master, this operation is so smooth. Lu Chen, are you also going to drink foreign tea? The news of Lu Chen's handling of the Ren family's collision with evil has already spread, so the fishmonger's tone towards Lu Chen shows a hint of respect. Yes. Lu Chen smiled and nodded, speaking concisely. Wen Kai, you. I'll go drink coffee too. Wen Kai didn't wait for anyone to ask, so he immediately answered with a lively expression on his face, and then followed Uncle Jiao's footsteps with a lively expression. Lu Chen chuckled lightly. Sure enough, there must be a master and an apprentice. The pose of the pretender is the same. The Western restaurant is located on the busiest street in Rinjia town. Sir, do you have an appointment? We came at the invitation of Mr. Ren. He should have reserved a seat. Originally, it was Mr. Ren's guest. Please go up to the second floor, Mr. Ren is already waiting on it. Thank you very much. Lu Chen casually gave the waiter a tip. The waiter's eyes lit up slightly, and his professional smile suddenly became enthusiastic. Everyone, please come with me, he said, enthusiastically leading the way ahead. Lu Chen, are you here? Uncle Jiao gave a strange glance to Lu Chen and thought to himself, is this another rule for drinking foreign tea? Lu Chen explained with a smile. This is a tip. It's a hidden rule passed in from abroad along with Western food. Like the reward in our restaurant, tipping the waiter can get more considerate service. Uncle Jiao and Wen Kai looked at the enthusiastic waiter in front of them and suddenly realized that there were so many tricks involved. Fortunately, they followed Lu Chen, otherwise they would have been treated as bumpkins. They secretly rejoiced that they were really clever. By the time they reached the second floor, Mr. Ren had been waiting for them for a long time. Jiao Shu and Lu Chen, welcome. Mr. Ren sat at the dining table and looked up to see Lu Chen and others. He immediately stood up with a smile to welcome the three of them. Please take a seat, don't be polite. Master Ren, I heard that Ling Qianjin has returned from the provincial capital. Why don't you invite her to come together? After sitting down, Uncle Jiao casually talked about Ren Tingting's situation. That girl just learned how to make up, and as soon as she returned, she went around teaching people. Wen Kai swept the master's eyes, curled his mouth and roast, you look like a steamed bun, and your daughter is not much more beautiful. Lu Chen glanced at him with a strange expression. To his knowledge, Ren Tingting is a charming little beauty. My girl, she's here. Speaking of Chow Chow, while they were chatting, Mr. Ren suddenly had a slight smile on his face and waved to the staircase, saying, Tingting, here you are. Dad. At the staircase entrance, Ren Tingting was wearing a pink dress, a top hat, a delicate handbag, and a sunshade umbrella. When she saw Mr. Ren, her sweet face showed a sweet smile and she walked towards them with her skirt in hand. Wen Kai heard a clear and sweet voice, and casually glanced over. The next second, he was stunned and stared at Ren Tingting like a pig. Lu Chen glanced at him and stepped down with his foot raised. Oh my! Wen Kai let out a painful scream and covered his feet, grinning. Ren Tingting and others all looked at him strangely. Uncle Jiao frowned and said, Wen Kai, what the hell are you doing? Shoes, there is sand inside the shoes. Wen Kai answered with a face full of grievances. It's a big fuss. Uncle Jiao glared at him, his shoes were just covered in sand, as for all this fuss. No harm, no harm. Grandpa Ren smiled and cleared the situation, then said to Ren Tingting, Tingting, this is Uncle Jiao. Hurry up and call someone. Uncle Jiao. Ren Tingting greets sweetly. Okay, okay. I can't believe it's been so many years since I last saw you. You've grown so big. Uncle Jiao unexpectedly looked at Ren Tingting, who was tall and graceful. In the blink of an eye, so many years had passed, and the little girl from that time had already grown into a big girl. He almost couldn't recognize it. This is Lu Chen, a college graduate who has returned from the provincial university. You should have a common topic. Then, Grandpa Ren introduced Lu Chen with a smile. Lu Chen, this is my daughter. Ren Tingting. Miss Ren. Lu Chen glanced at her and sighed inwardly, the world is so small. It's you, I saw you yesterday. Ren Tingting's eyes lit up when she saw Lu Chen. She smiled sweetly and said, thanks to you helping me out yesterday, otherwise I really don't know what to do. Lu Chen shook his head and smiled, saying, it's a small matter. Miss Ren doesn't need to be polite. Oh, Tingting, what happened to you yesterday? Why am I not sure? Dad, when I came back yesterday, my wallet was picked up by a scoundrel. Ren Tingting wrinkled her cheong nose and angrily recounted yesterday's events in detail. As she spoke, she smiled sweetly at Lu Chen and said, thanks to Brother Lu's help, otherwise I wouldn't know how to get out. Bastard, there are actually such scoundrels in Rinjia town. How does a Wei manage the public security in Rinjia town? Don't worry, Tingting. I will criticize your cousin later and ask him to help you find justice. Mr. Ren angrily patted the table, realizing that his daughter was being bullied within his own territory. It was so despicable. If this matter has been exposed like this, where did he put his face? Thinking of this, he arched his hand at Lu Chen and said, Lu Chen, thank you very much for helping Tingting yesterday. Speaking of which, our Ren family owes you another favor. With the incident of catching ghosts and warding off evil spirits yesterday, Lu Chen has already helped their Ren family twice. Mr. Ren, you're welcome. I just happened to meet at the meeting and saw the road was rough. Lu Chen politely waved his hand, ignoring it. Wen Kai, who was standing tall and waiting for Mr. Ren's introduction, watched as the four of them chatted passionately, and his heart suddenly felt a chill. I shouldn't be on the table, I should be under the table. New book upload, seeking support, thank you everyone. Qingming outing in happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Ancestor is above, disciples are going to break the precepts today. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Uncle Jiao, Lu Chen, what do you want to eat? Whatever you want. After clarifying the matter of the scoundrel, Mr. Ren immediately remembered ordering food for the guests. He waved to the waiter and then smiled and recommended to everyone, the coffee and western cold in my restaurant are signature dishes. Do you want to try them? Finally, when I reached the expected stage and wanted to show my literary talent in front of Ren Tingting, I had to raise my hand to order. Suddenly, my toe hurt, causing him to let out another ouch. Grandpa Ren and Tingting gave him a strange glance. How big the sand on the soles of these shoes is, it hurts my feet so much. At this moment, Uncle Jiao had already calmly ordered his meal and even used English in a very foreign way, give me a cup of coffee. Seeing Uncle Jiao cooking so skillfully, Grandpa Ren's eyes lit up and he asked, so Uncle Jiao, you've also had coffee before? Uncle Jiao nodded calmly and said, when I was young, I spent some time in the provincial capital. So that's the case, then no wonder, Grandpa Ren praised with a smile, Uncle Jiao, your English is really good. Mr. Ren praised me too much. Wen Kai stared blankly at Jiao Shu who had taken the lead, feeling a bit regretful. Blind Sheep raised his hand and said, I also want a cup of coffee. Lu Chen looked at Uncle Jiao and Master Wen Kai with a strange expression in his eyes. He swore to the sky that the foot he had just stepped on was not his. After excluding him, the culprit becomes very obvious. Uncle Jiao's ruthless feet. TSK, the little charm of the master and disciple. Lu Chen shook his head and smiled, but didn't reveal it. He casually said to the waiter, I'll have a cup of coffee and also serve me a cold western dish, medium rare. Thank you. He didn't have breakfast in the morning and was already a bit hungry. He just ordered a steak to fill his stomach. Jiao Shu, Wen Kai, do you want it? I want it. Wen Kai quickly raised his hand, refusing to eat for nothing. Give me one too. Uncle Jiao nodded, he didn't have breakfast either. I just need a cup of coffee, and by the way, bring us some egg tarts. I also want a cup of coffee. The father and daughter of the Ren family simply wanted a cup of coffee. Brother Lu, are you also studying in the provincial capital? After ordering, Ren Tingting immediately approached with great enthusiasm to chat with Lu Chen. Originally, Lu Chen did her a big favor yesterday, and she had a good impression of him. Now it is discovered that they are studying together in the provincial capital, which gives them an extra warmth towards Lu Chen and a pleasant surprise of encountering old friends in a foreign land. Yes, I am a student from Changsha University and I have already graduated. When Lu Chen found out that he had traveled to the Republic of China period, he was also filled with enthusiasm to study and serve his country. Due to some unexpected circumstances, I ultimately chose to return home and inherit my ancestral legacy. Wow, Changsha University, that's a higher education institution. I heard all the students inside are top-notch students. Ren Tingting's pretty face was filled with the words, amazed. Changsha Provincial University is also a first-class higher education institution in the country, and during this period, its comprehensive ranking was even higher than Fudan University. In the eyes of ordinary people, it is a proper higher education institution. This is also why Ren Tingting admires Lu Chen so much. Miss Ren, which school in the provincial capital are you studying at? I am at the First Women's College in Changsha. Women's College. Which major is it? Ren Tingting blushed and said, we don't differentiate majors. Their college aims to cultivate students as virtuous mothers and good wives, emphasizing teaching of household skills, flower arrangement and dressing, tea and cooking skills, and more. Essentially, it cannot be called a higher education institution. This is also something she finds difficult to talk about. Seeing that Coffee and Shilin were waiting for a while, with the idea of being idle, Lu Chen and Ren Tingting started chatting aimlessly. Lu Chen was originally a person who traveled through later generations and possessed far more knowledge than this era. When it comes to conversation, one can learn about astronomy and geography, and occasionally show off one or two foreign languages and dialects, including but not limited to English, Japanese, Koyuji-wa, Russian, the first sword of China, Cantonese, Han-Jia-Chan, Minnan language, love to fight to win, and so on. Such a rich accumulation of knowledge immediately amazed Ren Tingting, and her eyes were full of brilliance. After just a while, the gaze towards Lu Chen had already taken on a look of admiration. When Kai looked at the two people chatting passionately and realized that he couldn't even get in touch with their topic. He felt like someone had poured a bucket of cold water on him, his whole body trembling with cold air. The liveliness belongs to them, while I have nothing. It wasn't until the coffee was served that this tormenting scene ended. With the science popularization in front of Lu Chen, Jiao Shu and Wen Kai had a smooth cup of coffee this time and did not embarrass themselves like the original plot. After drinking coffee, Mr. Ren began to get to the point. Uncle Jiao, I'm not sure how you've prepared for my father's coffin removal and burial. Uncle Jiao frowned and advised with good intentions, Master Ren, it's better to be quiet than to be moved. Do you want to consider it again? In feng shui, lifting coffins and relocating tombs is a major event. If it is not necessary, do not disturb the deceased casually to avoid causing trouble. Uncle Jiao, I have already considered it very clearly. Mr. Ren rubbed his delicate pipe and said with a smile, back then, feng shui experts said that we must raise the coffin and move the burial in 20 years, which would be good for our Ren family. Seeing that Grandpa Ren had already made up his mind, Uncle Jiao didn't say much anymore. He nodded and said, since that's the case, let's dig the ground and pick up the coffin in 3 days. Okay, what do I need to prepare? The two discussed the details of the coffin relocation, while Lu Chen watched the whole process without saying a word, purely for the sake of making money. When they were about to discuss, the shilling steak finally arrived. Lu Chen indulged in a hearty feast without any hesitation, followed closely by Wen Kai, turning his grief and anger into an appetite, as if he had a grudge against a steak, using a knife and fork to vigorously pull, wishing to stab and kill this poor cow again. Uncle Jiao, try our restaurant's Western-style cold steak and see if it tastes authentic. Mr. Ren, who had settled a matter of concern, warmly welcomed Uncle Jiao. Steak. Uncle Jiao's face stiffened, different from Lu Chen, who was born in Yimao Mountain, and the literary talent who had not been named in Dingzhen Lu. He was born as a serious Maoshan Taoist. According to the precepts of Maoshan disciples have 4 taboos in their diet, one of which is not to eat cattle, because of their goodness, do not eat squid for filial piety, 3 do not eat geese, because of their chastity, 4 do not eat dogs because of their loyalty. How could he never have imagined that the so-called shilling was actually a steak? Ancestor is here, my disciple is going to break the precepts today. Blessed is the infinite heavenly sovereign. At this moment, Uncle Jiao made a decision that went against his ancestors. New book upload, seeking support, thank you everyone. Qingming outing in happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. The News of Zombies, 3 updates, new book for review. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Eat and drink enough, and the matter is settled again. Everyone immediately returned to their respective homes. Brother Lu, come to my house as a guest when you have time. I'll let you taste my craft then. In front of the Western restaurant, Tingting sweetly smiled and invited Lu Chen. She had a great conversation with Lu Chen today, and his humor, wit, and profound knowledge left a deep impression on her. Lu Chen glanced at her and smiled faintly, let's reschedule. That's a deal, come to my house next time as a guest. Well, if there's a chance, I'd also like to try your craft. Mr. Ren looked at the two with a smile and said, you young people have common topics, so you should have more contact. His gaze towards Lu Chen showed appreciation. College students are born with broad knowledge, rich knowledge, and great abilities. In his view, Lu Chen is the most outstanding young talent in Rinjia town. Compared to Lu Chen, other peers are not worth mentioning at all. Watching the starry and moonlit Lu Chen, Wen Kai felt sour in his heart. People are more popular than people. After parting ways with Lord Ren and Tingting Ren, Lu Chen, Jiao Shu, and Wen Kai walked towards their homes. Lu Chen, let me tell you something. On the way, Uncle Jiao suddenly mentioned something to Lu Chen. Uncle Jiao, please speak up. Uncle Jiao pondered with his hands behind his back for a moment before slowly saying, there is news from the neighboring Baohe village that there are zombies in their village. They hope I can go and take a look. However, I may not be able to get rid of this matter as I am taking on the next master in the short term, so I was wondering if you could help me go and see the situation. When it comes to this matter, he feels a bit embarrassed. The 2 disciples he has accepted, there is no need to say much about their literary talent. Their talents are mediocre, and they have no hope on the way to cultivation. Fortunately, this stinky boy can eat and sleep, which is a natural ingredient for guarding the righteous village. However, Qiusheng's talent is quite good, but his temperament is unstable and he is plagued by worldly affairs. After so many years of cultivation, there has been no progress, and it is too unsafe to deal with zombies with this cultivation. So he thought of Lu Chen. As far as he knows, Lu Chen has already broken through the practice of qi and truly embarked on the path of cultivation. And I have also learned various methods of family inheritance. As long as it is not a big zongzi, Lu Chen's cultivation is enough to deal with it. Originally, we were going to catch zombies. After a moment of thought, Lu Chen agreed with a smile and said, Uncle Jiao, let me handle this matter. Now that he was lacking in merit, he was eager for this kind of demon slaying and demon subduing. With the protection of the enchanting messenger and the yellow scarf warrior, as long as he didn't meet the old Zongzi like the bronze armor corpse, he could escape even if he couldn't fight it. If there is anything he can do, he will exterminate the zombies and reap merits. If things cannot be done, he will come back and shake people to help. His family has been rooted in Rinjia town for 3 generations. The business of his family is to sell peachwood swords, bagua mirrors, fu paper, fu cloth, glutinous rice flour and other evil prevention items. Most of the clients are Taoist priests like Jioshu, Yin Yang Master, and Divine Goddess, and so on. So, his family has a deep network in the spiritual realm. It's not difficult for him to shake people to help. I'll leave this matter to you. Pay attention to your safety, withdraw if you can't win, and don't show off. Seeing that Lu Chen took on this commission, Uncle Jiao felt relieved and reminded him of some precautions, fearing that Lu Chen might be careless and cause accidents. Lu Chen stood in front of the Lingxiao pavilion and watched as the 9th uncle and his disciples went far away. He turned around and opened the store door, took out his suitcase, and stuffed it with gossip mirrors, glutinous rice, duck eggs, and other anti-evil items to deal with zombies. After some thought, he took out the talisman paper, ink, and other drawing tools from the container. Since we need to deal with zombies, talismans are an essential tool. He is preparing to draw some talismans as a backup. There is no need to say much about cinnabar, smoke, and ink. Fu paper is a specially made yellow paper, which is made from the native wood pulp of peach wood, and then rendered with turmeric, a plant that ward off evil spirits, to ultimately produce yellow paper. Lu Chen poured cinnabar and ink into the inkstone, and then finely ground it with water. After half a sound, he spread out the yellow paper and held a slender brush dipped in vermilion ink. His expression was serious, and he landed the pen on the yellow paper, shining with spiritual light and swinging it away. The general is here. A seemingly shabby and secretly fitting in with the principles of Yin and Yang, the corpse restraining talisman has been officially made. He removed the corpse charms, laid them on yellow paper again, and drew them again. After a while, he dried the drawn talismans and stuffed them into his suitcase, then dragged out a bowl-sized peach wood from the corner. This is a peach tree that has been around for more than 10 years, with abundant yang energy inside. The peach talisman or peachwood sword made from it has a first-class effect in warding off evil spirits. He is not planning to delay time and will go to Baohe village in the afternoon. However, before that, he plans to make 1 or 2 handy self-defense items. The things passed down by his ancestors, in addition to the mental techniques and talismans used for cultivation, there is also a magic tool for preparation. The Essentials of Magic Tools records the production methods of various magic tools, such as peachwood swords, peach talismans, money swords, gossip mirrors, and so on. The magic tools inside are diverse, many of which are unimaginable. It can be said that the essentials of the Dharma tools is the core that their family business can continue to operate, and its importance exceeds the cultivation of mental techniques and talismans. He skillfully peeled open the peach wood, and in 3 strokes, divided by 5, he roughly shaped the peachwood sword. Immediately after, he took out his carving knife and solemnly carved seal and talismans on the sword body. He has been learning various techniques for making magic tools since childhood, such as carving, painting, and so on. Not long after, he carved the seal script on the sword body as he wanted. Subsequently, Lu Chen finally polished, and oiled the peachwood sword. Half a day passed, and a delicate peachwood sword was completed in his hand. The peachwood sword is smooth and brand new, bright as dark gold, and the flat and winding talisman seal is like a dragon snake crawling on the sword body, ready to break through the air and fly away at any time. He looked at the peachwood sword in his hand and a satisfied smile appeared on his face. Then he put down the peachwood sword and urgently made a slightly rough spare peachwood sword, peach talisman, and other magical tools. Having prepared all the magic tools he needed, he stuffed them all into his suitcase. With everything ready, he closed the door of Lingxiao Pavilion and headed straight to Baohe village with his suitcase in hand. Everyone throw some flowers, the child is starving to death. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.